Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel, guys. In this video today, we are going to be talking about, is Sorare too hard? Is it too difficult to win? Are the leaderboards too congested with big hitting scores and it's almost impossible to finish in amongst the prizes? In the video today, we'll be going through the general landscape of the SO5 arena, where we deploy teams and try and win rewards, the kind of state of play as we find it now, as well as what is the problem, because there is definitely problems, and what the solution is, could or might be. At any point in the video today, if you do, laugh, you learn, you like something, or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share and retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. If you could, hit the subscribe button. I do daily global football content, everything from Wonder Kids and Rising Star Managers to fantasy football and watch-alongs. The most popular content on the channel is transfer insights, Celtic analysis and Sorare tutorials. If you are new to Sorare and you haven't opened your account yet, there's a link in the description of this video. By clicking on that link, you'll get yourself a free limited card once you've bought 5 from the market, supporting all the content on Quinny 3001 and Sorare TV, and I thank you in advance if you do so. If you do have any further questions or need any advice, then just reach out to me in the comment section of the video. Now, as we're recording this today, we're coming out of game week 296, okay, and there's been a massive game week. Huge points are dominating the prize pools again for the second kind of European weekend in a row since the 22-23 season is on, okay. But what you need to understand, or the first thing we have to touch on in the video before we go any further, is the kind of lay of the land as we find it, okay. So Sorare implemented the dynamic reward system what feels like an eternity ago, and they've been tinkering with it ever since, and one of its prime directives has been to maintain a consistent prize pool through all the peaks and troughs of the year, with different fixtures, seasons in and out, cards being available, that kind of thing. So when it was initially implemented, that was one of the prime directives of it, was to make sure that throughout the foreseeable future, we're not rocking into game weeks with no prizes, or we're walking into game weeks and it's significantly crapper than before. And yeah, we've had plenty of different complaints and thus iterations of the prize pool to this point, and it feels like at the moment that's kind of being forgotten, because we're all kind of living in this weekend, we're all kind of living in the here and now of, oh, my team got 380 points in Challenger, my team did, and I didn't get anything. Now that's really poor, because Challenger Pro only has like 60 prizes in it, which is, for one of the pro divisions that requires rare and super rare cards, very expensive items in the game, to only have 60 rewards available is a really poor showing. Now, why is there only 60 rewards available, for example, in Challenger? Now, there's people actually ahead of me that are much closer to the 400 point mark that probably won't come out of this with a prize, and the main reason that this is crap is because there is only, like I said, 60 prizes that are available in the division. Now, when we actually go in and examine the prize pool, right, so the largest chunk of this is tier 1s, a fair percentage of them are stars, but the smallest percentage is tier 2s, and of course there's no tier 3s in here. So if we open up the tier 2 prize pool, right, because even when this does get to like 100 prizes or whatever it should be, when everything is like a new season card and full supply and all that kind of stuff, is the tier 2s, maybe tier 3s, should be the most abundant prize pool in this section, okay. For thinking about at the moment it finishes at 60, I would expect to see tier 1s maybe stretch to 60, and then tier 2s maybe go from, I don't know, 60 to like 100 and 110, 90, something like that. Should be the biggest section. As we scroll through this, you'll see number one, the actual amount of cards that are available for each individual player is very, very low. We're at the very end of all of these cards issuance, so some pictures have been updated. I see Ralston here with a new season picture. It still has old season cards, for example, and the Celtic cards are amongst the freshest on the platform, so they should have the most prizes available for the game week. But every other region, as we're scrolling through this, we're just getting bits of new season Austria, which came out last week, the dregs of Holland and Turkey, and then some other kind of smatterings throughout Challenger Europe, we bit of Belgium and, whatever else. So the prize pools, particularly in Challenger at the moment, are on its knees. It's the most competitive region in terms of how many buff teams, how many buff stacks can go out into this region and division, as well as the ones that have the most kind of value options, those kind of mid-tier guys that can go out, break 70s, break 80s, those, kind of top 7 teams in a Challenger division that they play bottom of the league, they should hump them. So because it's so congested with like what I would call like prime, well-built lineups compared to a lot of the other regions, certainly it should be one of the most appealing, should be one of the most attractive. Now, as we know, the most expensive divisions to get into is under 23 and champion. Now, most people in general don't really touch champion as a kind of rule of thumb, and equally at the moment champion is really on its knees prize pool wise, because we've got no new season issues of any champion division as of yet, and that'd be France, Spain, Germany, Italy and England. Of course we don't have that at all. Now, under 23 suffers from the exact same problems. This is the pro division as well that the challenger region does, but it also has the added kind of jeopardy on the prize pool. Once the 1st of June ticks in, if I'm sure it is, or is it the 1st of July? I'm losing my marbles today, sorry. Then they lose players to this prize pool by aging out, as we call it. Now, this pool can draw upon from players from all over the world, and again, as we look, the most abundant prize pool here is tier 1s, and like we see in Challenger, we've got those kind of dregs of these Challenger regions, but it's also quite densely populated with a lot of MLS, K and J League cards, because the remaining U23s that they have, of course, are still playing football. They're new season cards as well, and for the most part they have been issued as rewards running up to this point as well, but it kind of buffs them out. But equally, because they do lose cards to aging out, that prize pool is always kind of suffering if there isn't emerging talent in world football, you know. Now, in world football there is a real propensity to play the youth and to bring through up and coming talent and whatever, but in general terms, the guys that really kick ass and take names, the 23-year-olds are quite established in their team, or, you know, they're U23 for the last season, but you know, they're like a senior player, they play every week, they're a very effective player. Those guys leaving the pool makes it less appealing for some of the wins, because they no longer get issued as wins, and Erling Haaland is another example of that by transferring out of a licensed situation also. So there's a kind of duality on the go with under 23s in terms of what's going on with its prizes. Now, the reason I've went with pro to kind of look at those tier 2 and tier 1 prize pools is because at rare level, they're the kind of prize pools we all kind of use as some sort of base metric, because at limited, it's just not quite the common language yet for measuring this kind of stuff. But the limited divisions are the ones that are occupied by the most amount of players in the game, and most people feel the frustration for big scores not coming to fruition. Now, this is All-Star Limited for Game Week 296. As we can see here, the legend that is Majoan, I don't know this guy, but he scored 515 points, which is phenomenal. This is a 5-a-side tournament where all the players are scored between 0 and 100, and there's extra bonuses for the XP that they have or the captain selection that you make also. Now, this team from top to bottom is premium. You know, every one of these cards, maybe the exception of Benjamin Pavard, are all very elite, very expensive cards. In second place, though, we have a full LAFC stack. Now, I did a full stack across MLS, like every MLS team, like a month or two ago, probably based on the XP that this guy has and how new season, you know, these cards are. They were their current season cards, maybe around that same kind of time. This full team wouldn't be any more than 0.2 Ethereum, which at time of recording is around £300. The entire team, all 5 of those guys, give or take. Probably cheaper than that, because there's no Carlos Vela, there's no Bale, there's no, you know, I think Arango is probably the most expensive there, along with the goalkeeper, probably around £100 each. And then the other 3 guys are relatively nominal. So this guy's come in second with 490 points, with 5 players that are scored between 0 and 100, okay? Now, I'm just going to extra emphasise that part at the moment, right? Because you know it's 5-a-side, you know it's 0 to 100, so there is an absolute limit on the score. You know, if everyone is max XP and you got 100 on the captain, blah, 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 there is a maximum score that is achievable. You know, if everything was to fall into place, your goalkeeper got 100, which just isn't going to happen, but imagine it did. You know, I don't see any scores here that really change that idea of, if I was this guy Majoan or Papas, or even, let's check out number 3. Yeah, he's got a stud of a team. Jordi Alba probably isn't that expensive, neither is Rulli, as far as, you know, the top end of these scores go. This team is probably full of studs. Yes, it is. I just had a feeling with the, I don't know why, but his name made me think. So we'll have a wee quick glance through the rest of the top. There we go. To finish at the top 5, we'll get Gil Smile. I actually won this limited, not that exact one, probably not, hope it's not. It's like a tier 3 reward. He bangs in 100. Mehdi Taremi and Jonas Hoffman are not premium buys. Of course, Captain Neymar is, and Rulli's pretty solid. This is a real stud team top to bottom. Douglas Santos, Joshua Kimmich and co. But part of the thing that you'll see here with some of these guys, Andre Mostovoy being a prime example, some of these cards are benefiting at the moment from having huge season multipliers. Now, this is something that's available to every card. So when a card is in season, okay, you know, it's the current season issuance of the card, it gets a 5% added bonus, and that's the kind of incentive Sorare offered the primary market. If you get a new season card, you start with a 5% kicker, and you've got all season to work through the difference for when you lose it, into next season. But until the new season card comes, you will retain that 5% bonus, and we have lots of cards now that are still retaining their last season XP bonus. And everyone who has been around here for a while, like, nothing that I'm explaining now is breaking news. People knew when Limiteds came out that it was going to be congested. People knew you were going to be separated by XP. People knew you would need Kimmich, Neymar, Mbappe and co to guarantee a relative consistency on results, because they are the most consistent at the highest level in world football. No one really has any control over that. Those guys are really good at playing football. This is a football game. So when the new season cards come out, virtually every limited is going to lose 5% XP and the playing field gets levelled. And then, do you know what? In 12 months from now, it'll be the same thing again. The new season cards that are issued today, if you can get them high enough XP, this time next year you will be in the position to take advantage of that XP. I don't know if you call it a loophole or situation or whatever, just as everyone is doing at the moment for those guys that have held on to their limiteds for so long. This is an our real stud team. Pote and Inacio, as far as limiteds go, are definitely not that expensive. Meditarime. Let's see, Duchy here. Look at this team. Tavasan, Mostovoy, Palacios, Sahin, Radlinger, DeWitt, and then finally for the top 10, we've got a real stud team, Upamecano, Tadic, whatever. So I'd probably say out this top 10 in All-Star, and bear in mind there's like 15,000 people that compete in here. This top 10 is actually quite eclectic. I thought it was just going to be all kind of dominated by Bayern. While I'm talking, I'm just going to click through these, but yeah, well, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of recurring faces, but I'm actually seeing more variety of faces here to Hani Mukhtar than I perhaps thought I would have for the top 20. I was expecting to come into this, open it up and see, there's another one of those LAFC stacks, but he's opted for the Vela over somebody else to his detriment. But great there from Jonas BW. And I was expecting to say that we need to have, maybe specialist rules implemented, maybe a bit wider, or underdog rules perhaps implemented a bit wider. But really, when you do examine this kind of top 10 in particular, top 20, there's a little bit less variance, it must be said, like Rafael Guerrero. Those differential cards that really came in, like the LAFC stack, and then Brian Hainan with an 88, wow, Herv Coffey, Daniel Munoz with a 99, well done, White as Snow, well done my man, that's a good score. Pat LaRouche, I sold him my Vandervoort a long time ago, Murilo Chiquera, Rui Patricio, Sven Coombs, these are not expensive guys, especially, even Carlos Vela being a premium guy, he's like so crap on form that he can be bought relatively cheap. Leandro Morales, never heard of him, everyone else here is a stud obviously. And then to finish off the top 20, Immobile, Coates, Adan, these guys are not cheap, don't get me wrong, but they're not Neymar and Kimmich and whatever. So to finish up the top 20, I actually think these power players, if you like, are much less dominant than I perhaps thought they would be. As I explained earlier, the top divisions, of course, for money entry is under 23s and champion. Now, we'll check out under 23s. Now, I was actually preparing for the video and I did a dry run of all this before recording, and then when I had to be cigarette, went to the shop, got a can of juice and whatever, and Hoodwink, I'm sure it was Hoodwink anyway, noticed the exact same thing that I noticed, which it's not much of a discovery, but if you look at the top guy in under 23 limited this game week, he has Lassie Lapinilianen, he has Brenner, he has Diego Palacios, Jose Cifuentes, and Philip Menzel. That's his under 23 team. I hope this guy wins Mbappe, I really do. What a team. 464 points isn't really that crazy, but under 23, because you have just much less variety of players and whatever, and such less players are consistent number one 90-minute players, lower scores can be fruitful, but you need players that are going to bring them, The second place team, Majeki, if that's how you say it, Inacio, Georgi Mihailovic, Pavlidis, a poor man's Giacomakis, and Cifuentes again, so a relatively nominal price team there. Wrench, Enzo, Anthony, Gakpo, very expensive team here at number 3. Number 4, maybe a bit of a mix. Rokos, Rio Novo and Brenner are quite cheap, but the other 3 guys are definitely premium items, it must be said. Now, Leardinho is one of these guys. I knew before opening this he will have good guys in here. He's married to that Lang. Tapsoba, I hope he picked him up after watching one of my videos where I was talking about how good he is. Safanov he's had for ages. Trezor is not a premium, he might be now, but I can guarantee you when Laird picked him up he certainly was not. And Veerman is just the poster child of under 23 mids. So this team, no 2 players are from the same team. It's a bit eclectic. Yeah, there's some money spent on it. It's not quite the big bruiser team that we would expect. Even like Julian Araujo, I know he's cheap as chips because I've had him. Cifuentes we're seeing again. Joe David has been very out of vogue and would have probably been quite nominally priced recently. Diego Almada in and out all the time. Jose Cifuentes, again, Diego Costa. Don't get me wrong, for under 23, some of these guys are expensive, like Lang. We've just seen Tapsoba once or twice. Veerman's expensive, of course. Gertruda's relatively, not too expensive. Same with Inacio. I think Lafont's probably quite expensive now because of the midweeks. And then we'll finish through the top 20. Again, I'm not expecting to see many more new faces. There's a Schlotterbeck, he's not cheap. But again, there's a real variety. Alan Velasco, Gaetan Cook, Joaquim Henrique. With a bit of scouting and with a bit of fixture analysis, that can make the difference. Here's a Malik Tillman at Rangers. I don't like to see that card, but it's a nice Champion Edition card, so there we go. Ibanez, of course, at Roma. Joey Veerman again, Inacio again. We're seeing some recurring characters. Is that the same one? No, it's a new one. Dejan Jovovic, Dane Rensch, Bayezid, so these guys are not the good and the great. Tolkien, Diego Palacios, Rocco Rios Novo, Benji Kikanovic. Great team there from Ali Posey. And then we'll finish out the top 20. We've got a Jota, finally. The first Jota we've seen. Mbappe's here as well. This is a real stud expensive team from Sorare Club France. We've got a rookie, Andrew. Gakpo Veerman, expensive. So is Diego Costa. But Robert Lujovic, I think he's moved to Croatia. I don't think he's an expensive guy necessarily. Turkish striker's got a big account. Very expensive team from top to bottom. But it's only been good enough for 19th for him. And that's the thing with some of these big accounts. This is maybe in the middle of being an expensive and a modest team, I would say. Kenny Taylor, Nuno Mendes are not big assets. Anthony and Hakimi definitely are. But even with these types of teams, and we've seen some of them a bit higher up, but some of these like power player teams, they are lazy selections. You're not taking into consideration fixtures and all that kind of stuff. And as we've seen, many of these managers with really big and powerful wallets and galleries have been bested by guys being cute, by guys picking on fixtures, by guys picking on guys that have a good set of form and fixtures and whatever. I'm tempted to look at specialists, but I know that's just going to be quite self-fulfilling in the sense it's going to be covered with sneaky buys and whatever because it's built in such a way. But let's have a quick glance over Champ Euro. It's probably going to be the good and the great, isn't it? In the Champ Euro, you expect this. The top score, 492. Again, it's lower than an All-Star where we've seen, America cards and Asian cards and whatever coming into it. But again, yeah, this is just all going to be the big power players because that's where a lot of these cards go. So if you're, for lack of a better term, if you're scared of these decks, if you're scared of these cards, stay away from Champion because this is just going to be covered with them from top to bottom. As we've seen in All-Star and in Under 23, you can have that differential luck by playing your cheaper guy, your unfancied guy who's not, one of the top 10 players in the world or one of the top 5 players in the game in their position. So, what is the problem? The problem really is that there's not enough prizes at the moment. The solution to that is new cards coming out. Now, at the moment, we can go and we can check out the calendar for the game weeks on Sorare itself. Now, they give us as much notice as they possibly can, but at the moment, it only goes to game week 300, okay? And you can click into this, it's on the main Sorare page, as you've just seen, and then you can click on any game week you want, and it will tell you exactly what division, how many cards are there, whatever, right? Now, when we go to game week 300, when we look at All-Star Rare Pro, that's just the one I use as the benchmark, we've got 20 Star Rares, 75 Tier 1s, and 50 Tier 2s. So that comes to 145 cards. That doesn't exceed the peak that we've already set a week or two ago in this division. And I think, I'm a bit of an optimist myself, right? But they used to give us these game week calendars much further afield, much further in advance, and now they're just making it as kind of little in advance as they can. And I think that's because they don't want to show their hand. They don't want to give the game away of what is to come. As we get new season cards for all the basically we've got 3 full Champion Euro divisions licensed now, with Serie A now joined, 17 out of 20 teams, Bundesliga and La Liga, and then we've got most of France knocking around, and then who knows what will happen with England. But that's 4 huge divisions with 4 huge sets of prizes to go into All-Star and Under 23s, never mind Champion, as well as the entire Challenger Euro region, Belgium, Holland, the Portuguese teams. We've just had Austria, we've got Scotland to come back, the Swiss team, the Zagreb team, we're getting Danish teams on. So all these things are still to kind of roll themselves out and into the prize pool. So this next game week calendar is kind of where I'm reserving my pitchforks for, if you know what I mean. Like, I want to see, once we've got more cards back on, exactly how these prize pools pan out in Rare and Rare Pro. Now, another part of the kind of problem, I feel like, is like people will be entering these limited competitions and maybe ending up with like 420 points, right? We only looked at the top 20. If we were to scroll back to probably the first like 1500, the scores are like so tight. Like I explained earlier, part of that will disappear because a lot of these cards will lose 5% XP overnight. But part of people's frustration as well is they're getting a really great score and then ending up with a really crap Tier 2 or Tier 3 reward. And people think, well, if I'm getting 440 points out of a possible maximum of like 550 or whatever the hell like it would be, if everyone else is rocking out with those scores, then it just gets too tight, it's too congested. We've seen plenty of examples where the opposite happens. There's just less going on and people can capitalise upon it. So, you know, I'm relatively a spoiled user in the sense that I've had many a victories and many a success in SO5. But if you have been on the channel for a long time, you'll have heard me saying this already, but if this is a video you've caught for the first time or you don't catch much of my stuff or whatever, I will be very clear in telling you this is the opportunity where the prize pools are out of kilter, where we should be really hammering and trying to get as many wins as we can. And equally, when you see me doing my lineup builders at the moment, I'm only really hoping and expecting one or two teams come in, because I understand how competitive it is, and I understand that we're at the mercy of real world football players delivering fantastic scores to make fantastic results happen. And, you know, this doesn't happen at command, you know. I think for limiteds as well, another possible solution that I think could be exercised or could be explored over the coming weeks and months, I kind of said this when I was chatting to Channing the Penfez, is like, with any fantasy football game, you never really expect to have full ability to deploy one team. With SO5, we've had many a debate over this, and obviously we've got max pair 2 in like specialist, and I think it's max 1 in like some of the unique kickoff competitions or stuff like that. I can't remember exactly the ins and outs of them all, but there's more and more different criteria coming into more and more different competitions, which is fantastic. But I don't think it would upset a single person in the world, really, if you said for limited competitions it was max 4 per club in the base divisions, because I don't think, like, you don't want to put people off that is maybe going to sign up to the platform and like, I'm a Celtic fan or I'm a whatever fan, it doesn't matter what the team is, if they're good at SO5 or not, and I just really want to follow my team, play my cards and see if I can pick out some good winners or whatever, and to come on the platform and be told, oh no, it's max 3 per team and you're kind of forcing people to go and get 2 other guys. I think that might put people off potentially, and then we have a discussion to be had. But I think if it's 4 out of 5, I don't think anyone even thinks about it twice. They just go, okay, well, I'll just go get that midfielder from this other team that I like, or that guy that's on loan from my team to another club somewhere else in the world or whatever. And then you can still have fun, you can still have that kind of homogenous, I'm with my team, I don't really want to discover more football. Whereas many of us, like we've seen with those leaderboards, if you are happy to discover more football and really dig into the fixtures and who's underrated and who's undervalued, those top 20s, particularly in under 23, was covered with scouting gems, you know. And again, people who want to do that, them having it being 4 maximum per team doesn't even really affect them, you know. Now, I'm 34. And I've spent a long part of my life playing many different games, okay? So I'm not shocked that it's hard to win. I'm not shocked that, you know, for example, if I was to play a fighting game or any bloody game, there's a ceiling I can get to with the characters at my disposal in any game or any competitive environment where, you know, the means of my ability is limited by the resources I'm able to use. You know, like if I wanted to go and do anything, you need the best kit possible to get the best results possible. Now, yes, people can overperform on less, and that's great, and I think that's what motivates a lot of people to come into the game, and it certainly motivated me that I can find that guy that you think is rubbish, but I know he's actually amazing and he just needs to move or he's just out of form or whatever. And I feel that I feel that all of that is still here and it's still at play. I don't feel it's been ruined. But the parallels that can be drawn from all these other types of games or other kind of situations, again, I think they all stand up. I don't think they're necessarily game breaking, but I do feel that if the prize pool is to remain, like I said at the very beginning of the video, one of the prime directives of this dynamic reward structure is to maintain consistent levels of results, or rewards, I beg your pardon, throughout the football calendar, no matter how many people are entering, and a consistent level of rewards for teams and possible lineups and all that kind of stuff. But if when the new cards come, there isn't a noticeable increase in quality and availability of rewards, then I will be asking some real serious questions about what the hell's going on. Because, like, at this point, 145 rewards in All-Star Rare Pro is fine, but we've never had more cards, we've never had more divisions. Granted, there is more prizes getting dished out kind of like horizontally across underdogs and specialists. They're now making underdogs and specialists for like limiteds and rares and uniques and all that kind of stuff just as common as it is for limited, which means it's available every game week. So it's not just about how deep the prize pools go. I do expect them to get deeper, but I want the quality to improve, and I actually expect this horizontal line that they're drawing to be maintained also. So that puts a lot of pressure on the prize rewards, on the reward pool, and there is only really a couple of ways where it works out. And I'm reserving judgment on any negative position on the prize pools and how difficult it is to win until we get those new season cards, because I think otherwise it's premature at this stage, because we are living off the rewards still that we were. Like, the reward pool has not changed significantly in the last 2 or 3 months in terms of cards that are available and whatever. If anything, it's just been diminishing this whole time, you know, as we've issued more rewards and new season cards haven't came out to replenish the amount of cards that can be dished out, you know. So for me, again, last thing I'll say to kind of wrap up the video, like I said earlier, I'll always tell you when I'm doing streams and whatever what I think the best strategy is and how I kind of set my objectives and whatever, because even though I've got a big gallery, I've not got the biggest and baddest gallery going. I've not, you know, got 5 million cards and can pick anyone I want from around the world. I need to make economic decisions. I need to make tactical decisions every game week on what prize pools are better, who I think my best players are, etc. And at this moment in time, I think it's important that what lineups you're putting out, if you're able to get these kind of prize, if you're able to get into these numbers, you know, I'll just show you kind of mine now, because I've some that I'll be a bit like, oh, I can't believe I never done better, you know. 430 in super rare is not a great score, but we're finishing amongst the prizes, that's fine. But like, what else did we have? Like 380, top 100, nothing. That's a wee bit disappointing. And then even circa 250 points in underdog, I think is a pretty good score. If you can get a team that is knocking out considerable scores where you are disappointed today, you are disappointed right now that you're not winning results, then you're in a great position for when the prize pools are replenished. If you feel that, like, oh, do you know what? My teams are only bringing in, I've got some other scores here that are pretty rubbish, like everyone does, you know, like 240 or like some of these other teams I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, when the prize pools do turn around and maybe like 380 in a pro division or maybe 420 in a pro division wins a much better prize like tomorrow than it does today, what am I missing? And that's what I'm trying to identify now, so that when the prize pools do become replenished, any underperforming team I can actually increase its result on, I'm going to look to do that. Likewise, teams that I know are doing really well, even this team here, 291 points, right? But Gavi and Barry L did rotten, to be honest with you. I look at that team and I think, yeah, I just need to keep it going. If it just wasn't their week, you know, where they banged out, I would be more worried than now if I've got teams that are not scoring good points at all and I'm getting nowhere near and I've got nothing to be frustrated about, because at that point you are missing a piece or two, so that when the stars do align, your guy does rack in 100, you've made the right choice on captain, the XP's been removed from all the limiteds that are going, and it's a much more level playing field for a couple of weeks, and then even in a few weeks thereafter it'll probably swing in your favour if you're buying new season cards, because you'll quickly out XP last season stuff. That's the way the system works, you know. You don't want to have those things happen and you're missing a midfielder. And like, you know, I'm not telling anyone to go and spend any exorbitant amounts of money. You just look at those prize pools that are those top 20s that we looked at. There's guys in LASC that cost like 20 quid that scored 100 and stuff like that. If you know what you're missing and you know where to look and you know what your budget is and stuff, there's many creative solutions that will come in at some points in the season. But guys like Kimmich, Mbappe, Neymar, they are going to, Messi, they are going to come in every week because they are the best in the world. And, you know, if you don't want to compete against them, then you need to go into divisions where they are not found, basically, at this point in time. But yeah, I'm kind of going in circles, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Please do let me know all your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been discussed in the video today in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and retweet and all that good stuff. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.